frame 30 now. Turn off our animate, go into morpher, make sure that our jaw correction for up and down is set to 0. I'm going to take the jaw up down correction and just slide it up out of the way for now. I guess I'll just hide these off. And I'm going to use my default head that's all set up, and I'm going to use that as the basis for the next one. And let's call this correct jaw left. And we'll make a copy of that. And we can go ahead and actually add this to the morpher. And again, it's kind of easiest if you turn it up to 100. It'll slow things down a bit, and it isn't always the best thing to have the always update on if it's a really big mesh. And it's certainly slowing the process down, working with this character while I'm doing the capture, and it's even then just the UI is going very slow because of the capture software that's running. So again, I'm going to use the soft select with an edge distance turned on. I tend to set it around a 5 or a 6, and then what we can do is we can play with the fall off value to get what we're looking for. And we can correct the jaw area. Now what we want to do is we want to find and play with just the right amount of correction or fall off so that we don't get too much. We're falling off right into the nose right now, so I'll pull that down a fair bit more. And then we can try and correct this, maybe even pull it out because it would be sliding around the front of the teeth. So it's a lot of just sort of playing around and getting it right. And like I said, it's actually almost kind of hard to do it while I'm doing the captures because it's so slow. I have to be it's very touchy the way that it's moving everything. So what you can do now is you can see if you've got a decent curve over the teeth, and it looks somewhat natural. Now if you notice, I'm also getting a lot of crushing in my weighting for the jaw. We may actually have to go back and re-weight the corners of the mouth a little bit more, or we could actually try and fix it in the corrective shapes right here and decide that we're going to leave the weighting alone and actually try and use the this corrective shape to correct the corners of the mouth for each side that it pulls on. And I wouldn't suggest using this as your first sort of line of defense against a badly skinned model. Your best bet is to play with your skinning as much as possible to make sure that you get it working. I've always said that it's one of those situations where if you start with bad work, everything else becomes more and more difficult to achieve. So try and avoid correcting things. Trying to come up with corrections for everything as opposed to actually doing the work right in the first place. I'm going to see if I can get this to work a little bit better with just a little bit of corrections in it. I'm going to leave this. I think it really needs to be weighted a bit better. So now that we've got the one side done and it seems to be working, what I'm going to do is I want to make a copy of this, and it's going very slow because of the capture, and I'm going to call this correct right. And now we need to mirror this over, and we need to flip it from side to side. And we can use the same mirror morph, but now what we can do is we can just use it as the standard. So you can either change this to false, or you can just run a mirror morph with the open and close parentheses after it on this model, and give it a second, and it'll mirror it from one side to the other, and you can see that it's swapped it over. So now it's a matter of going in and adding this to the other side, and we can use this to correct the shape when the jaw rolls to the other side. So if the jaw now swings to the other side, this corrective shape will be turned down, and this corrective shape will be turned up, and it'll fix the jaw for the other side, and it'll work as we expect it to. Again, we may need to go in and do some more tweaking around the mouth area for the weights, I think. Try and get that working a little more smoothly, and then we may need to go in and actually readjust some of these targets. This is again part of the problem of doing setups like this, is that it takes time to go back and forth and get things to work in conjunction with each other. The next thing we have to discover is when the mouth is open and the jaw is swung to the side, do these targets cause more problems as they get blended together, because this target will be blended into one of these two targets at that point, and we could end up with more problems. It could start looking a little strange. We'd have to go back and fix it. So in the next chapter, what we're going to do is we're going to deal with that. We're going to set up a UI item. So we've got the control, and we can move the control around like in my initial demonstration of what we're going to be achieving here, and we can then test the whole range of motion out of the ogre and see if we're getting the jaw rotation control out of it that we need without crunching in the corners and overlapping of polygons and just general ugliness happening.